Alright, here we go. So this game is not as long as the other games. This is 30 move game. I played at 89.9% accuracy. And yeah, let's get into it. So he starts off the game with e4. I play Caro-Kann, of course. And he plays this move, f3. And now the best move by far is to play d4. I'm going to turn my lines off because I don't want cheat sheet. d4 is the best because after the knight can't go over here, first of all. Well, it can go over here, but then it would get kind of stuck in the position, get bounced around a lot. For example, after this, I could even play this move, but I believe e5 might be a better choice here because now the knight is stuck and doesn't have any of these squares, and I have to play something like this. Anyway, so instead of me playing d4, which is the best move, I end up playing the move e5, which is an inaccuracy, but it just takes space in the center. The only reason this is an accuracy is because d4 is just better in general, but nonetheless, he plays the move knight e2, which is another big mistake because now d4 is even more potent because he can't go here, right? After this, the knight would be trapped, and the knight has no squares to go back to, and I would just be peace. So the knight would have to go back to b1, and I mean, that's just a very large waste of time, and I'd be better here. Instead of playing d4, I miss it, and I just develop a piece. He goes d4 himself, which makes the position pretty complicated. So I go bishop d6, which just defends my pawn. Captures, captures. He plays this move f4, and I realize here that I have a little tactic, right? And I can capture the knight, and I could either, and this is just a free hanging pawn, but if I take it, I would have to give up castling rights. So I was thinking here that if I take it with the knight, knight takes here, 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 this is the same position as if I take like this, here, here, but the knights aren't on the board. So I go for the worst one. I go for the for keeping the knights on the board. Unfortunately, I have a better move. If I capture here, captures, I can play queen e7, which I missed, which just gets the knight off, which just wins back the material without having to miss all of the sorry, tripping over my words, without having to lose my castling rights. But I missed this, and this is the position. He moves his king up, and if you notice, I'm just up a pawn here, so I'm not that worried. I go check. He moves his king up again. I defend my pawn. He attacks my bishop, and I realize if my bishop sticks around, for example, if my bishop goes here, he has move. Sorry, he'll have. If my bishop goes here, he'll have the move g4 here, and then this would shut the bishop. So I decide instead to not allow him the opportunity of pushing his pawns over there, to bring my bishop back to d7, keeping the pawn defended. He goes g4, I go knight d5, check, captures, captures, and now my pawn is extra defended. And in all honesty, in this position, I would say that I have a very, very, very good grip on the position. The engine doesn't think so. Engine thinks it's still equal, but not after this, not after a4. Here, I develop my knight. He goes bishop e5. I give him this check. He comes back, and I decide to go for some little thing where I can get my bishop out, because my bishop is my worst piece. Actually, my rook on a8 is my worst piece. But I can get this guy out pretty easily with king c7 and rook d8. So I'm trying to get my bishop out. So instead, I play the move a6 here. This is a mistake. It still keeps my advantage. This is just because the move knight b4 is a lot better, and I have incredible pressure on this pawn. I can bring my rook over, and it's actually pretty much lost for my opponent. So instead I play a6, captures, captures, and here my opponent plays c3, trying to chip away at my pawns, but he misses that I have the move e3 check, which opens up an attack on the rook. After the king moves, I grab the rook for free. He takes my pawn. I'm up 5 points of material now. I push my pawn 1 step closer to promotion. He defends the promotion square. I bring my bishop back. Oh, speaking of which, I bring my bishop back here because the idea is actually just to take this pawn. Like, for example, if he plays this, I can just grab this pawn. It's totally fine. It's as if takes, I make a queen, takes, and I'm just up a rook. So that's just a simplification tactic. It's pretty nice. But instead, he goes here. I grab the pawn for free. Gives me a check. I move my king up so that my rook can get in the game. Comes back. I give him this check. Oh, if you're wondering, he couldn't take this pawn. He couldn't take this pawn because of check, and I'd be winning the rook for free. So instead, I bring my king up. Comes back. I give this check anyway, and I target both of his pawns here. He goes with d5, and I decide to go rook c4 check before I go to d4 because I'd rather his king not be next to his bishop. He moves his bishop instead, which just hangs the pawn in f4, takes on g7, and I go rook f1, takes my pawn, I recapture, and he resigns. So that was the game. Let's look at it a bit closer from the beginning, just a little rundown. So he plays this weird type of Caro-Kann that's just inaccurate, and I miss a chance out of the opening with e5. Then I miss the chance again with knight f6. d4 is just better in every circumstance, but I mean, you live and you learn, whatever. He goes d4 himself, and I get into a position where I win a pawn, but I lose castling rights. Fortunately for him, he brings his king out instead of doing proper things. Like, for example, instead of this move, instead of this king out move, I would recommend like just bishop e3 or something. It's not the best move, but it gets him closer to castling. He has to develop one of these bishops. Like maybe bishop here is the best move. Yeah, bishop here is the best move. So then he can castle quick, and he has targets on my f7 pawn. So I get my pieces out. I get these two connected pawns that are very nice, and I'm able to win the rook. I get my pawn 1 square away from queening, and then it's just a cleanup process where I'm able to win a couple pawns and win the rook and win the game. So that was this game. I hope you enjoyed. Hope you found this instructional. Maybe find ways to attack properly. Yeah, I hope you had fun. And well, good evening and good night.